We're going live.
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to the exciting and summit of darkness in Dublin. So, Francis, I'm going to give you a bit of a lesson in shit. Because
Oh,
by God, you are currently crawling in it. And when you thought this would be a situation of wading through it, nah. There's a much smaller pipe involved.
next time
You
I'm
are
taking scuba deer.
you are literally crawling through excrement. How do you feel?
Like shit.
Excellent. I hope to God you didn't have heightened senses on when you left.
Oh, fucking no! Hell to the no. If there's anything Francis has learned over his many centuries of existence, it's that don't heighten your senses in a sewer.
Has this lesson served him? Has this life lesson served him well?
He is still wading through shit, so probably not.
Excellent. Ahead of you, Abdul doesn't seem to notice the smell. He just keeps ferreting his way through the cesspool. It's interesting to see an 8 foot tall man crawl, but then again, c'est la vie. It's Abdul.
Abdul, I can't really come up with a title other than he's guiding me through shit. So the shit guide.
I mean, it's better than being a shit poster, but yes. He, Abdul, for his part, doesn't, as I said, he doesn't seem to care about the smell. You can also call him Abdul the Nosferatu beat stick if you'd like. He takes the turns down here in the sewers almost instinctively, turning left, right, left again, going down a long, long, long corridor, turning and taking another right and then a swift left. You have no idea how on earth they remember these corridors so well, but by God, like rats running through a maze, somehow they manage. You're mildly impressed.
Anything to keep Francis's mind off the fact that he's swimming through shit right now.
Mm-hmm. Abdul will stop a couple of feet away from a ladder that juts out from the wall of the sewer leading up towards a manhole cover. Without saying anything, he will merely gesture upwards.
Francis will go upwards. I'm also going to roll for hunting because I forgot to do that before the scene started. So I'll just do that real quick.
You start with no blood. That is your punishment.
I guess some additional roll.
I'm being deadly serious.
Oh,
I'm totally not. You go, Hunt. You believed me for like 20 seconds though.
good. I get. I'm on 10 blood. Well, let me check my head. I think it might just be 9. Yeah, it's just 9.
So, you're pretty peckish. You're not starving, but you're pretty peckish.
Yeah, peckish for one of my blood potency. But yes. If Francis goes upwards towards the manhole cover. Oh god. Sweet release from this hell. How did a Nosferatu stand to live down here?
You assume they don't have a sense of smell.
Francis is seriously considering whether they actually do.
Valid.
Francis, for his part, has really just stopped trying to smell at all while he's down here. It's not helping. But yes, he does make his way up.
Okay. As you get up there, you find the fact that the manhole cover is sealed.
Oh. Where's Abdul, by the way?
He's still standing at the bottom of the bottom of the ladder. He hasn't moved. Would you like Abdul to move?
Yeah, Francis will make a gesture towards the manhole cover. Like, yeah.
Abdul looks up and shrugs.
Francis will push on the manhole cover.
It's wedged tight. Would you like to roll me your strength athletic?
Yeah, of which I also don't have much of.
Do you know what's great? Spending blood for increased physicals is great. Just saying.
I'll spend one into strength, which puts me up to 6 dice.
It's going to be difficulty 9.
Okay, good.
You'll see
No
why.
successes.
Beg your pardon?
No successes.
Okay. You desperately push upwards, only to kind of flail ever so slightly and boop your head on the manhole cover. Like, boop.
Ah, my perfect hair.
Never mind, you haven't actually communicated to Abdul to do anything. You just kind of pointed upwards.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll try and telepathy with him if he's willing.
He is not willing. He is actively going to try to resist.
Um, if he tries to resist, I just won't force the issue. I'll literally head down
Abdul just
to.
kind of looks up and he says, "You know that there's only us down here, and no one can hear us, right?"
Aren't we in water?
No.
I thought
You're
we were underwater, so we couldn't speak.
no.
In which case, yeah, I went telepathy with him at all. Then my bad. That was a misunderstanding on my part.
You know, you're literally standing on the side. When you were swimming through the shit, that was a little while ago. You are
Okay.
literally standing on a beside a river of stagnant water, on a concrete path with the ladder going upwards.
Okay. Um. Francis will then just go. Could you help me tear that down?
Abdul looks up at the thing. He looks down at the sheriff, and he looks up at the thing again. That was not part of deal.
Well, I believe the deal was to help get me in and out. I can hardly get in if the manhole cover's sealed.
Ah, so what you're saying is, mighty sheriff, that you require someone to finesse a way for you to actively do your duty, yes?
You have aided me thus far.
He looks down at you. A single trivial boon.
Francis thinks. Screw it. He'll just head over to the manhole cover and I'm going to try and roll again. I'm going to spend a willpower this time.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a threshold of 4 successes.
Bitch.
At difficulty 9, I'm really sorry, but it's going to make sense in a couple of seconds.
Alright, I'll spend another blood point. Fuck you, one. Well, I only get 2 successes.
Unfortunately, you kind of heave. You have that wonderful kind of really thin guy heaving against something really heavy, like.
It's like, I nudge it! And then it doesn't.
Nope.
No. It's probably just hanging off the ladder. Is there any way I can just remove? Can I just like unseal it? Like, just like turn it or something?
Basically, you've already done that. The problem is that even when it's been rotated, there's something blocking it above you, clearly.
Hmm. I don't know why I'm fighting so hard to not owe a trivial boon, but I really don't want to owe a trivial boon. So if there's something blocking it above me, then I need to think of an alternate.
Just 1 second, hang on.
Depends on what I have in my environment. I might be able to use my weapon like a crowbar, maybe. But I don't want to burn all my shit on opening this goddamn sewer, correct? This manhole cover.
You could always astral project up and see what's covering it.
Yeah, it takes another willpower.
Abdul will say from down where he's standing, I see. You, through Sheriff's intrepid nature, will now cost minor boon.
Fuck
He's
this,
now
I'm
just
gonna astrally project.
he's now just being a dick.
He's being a dick. Well, fuck you, sir. Eventually, he'll just slowly work his way up to life boon. The fucker. Now you are twat down here. Life boon, please. Right. Projection. Yeah, I'll make the roll for it. I just need to make a perception awareness check. What's the difficulty? Would it be difficulty 5 or 7? 7 is nearby, 5 is within sight, but it's right next to me, so I don't know if it's.
I'll say it's 5.
Okay. I get 2 successes, so Francis will slide down the ladder. He'll just hold up his finger 1 moment, and then his body will briefly go limp. He'll quickly travel up to the surface, and what the fuck is holding the goddamn?
Basically, you assume that since this road was built, the road has itself been massively remodeled. Basically, this is indeed a manhole cover, but it has been covered over by a layer of asphalt and is currently forming a driveway of a house.
Oh wow, okay.
You would assume, as you look at the number of the house, which is 21A, Brightmoor Street, which is the street in question. It's literally right the next to the house you have to break into. So the Nosferatu clearly did their homework.
Yeah, they're just taking to me a manhole cover I can't actually get through.
Bear in mind, they could have just assumed you were strong enough to force your way through. You are the sheriff, after all.
I'm also a Toreador.
I mean, that's your handicap, not theirs.
Am I supposed to assume that the Nosferatu can move super fast and look beautiful?
I mean, the Seneschal can.
I mean, he's really old. He doesn't count. Can Abdul do that? No. I don't think so.
Abdul can move super fast.
God damn it.
Not as fast, not nearly as fast as you, but he has like 1 or 2 dots of celerity.
There you go. There you go. There you go. I'm super tough. A teeny bit, but not super strong.
There you go. Well, that's your fault.
How am I gonna get through this then? If it's covered in fucking asphalt.
That's why the roll is so difficult.
Can I make it an extended check?
Mm, no.
Okay. Have I done any damage to it to get through?
Not really.
Okay.
It's one of these moments where you have to basically do a critical mass and a critical surge of strength in order to simply force it. It's not something that's going to be actively damaged over time unless you basically manage to meet and beat the threshold. It's like how I can punch an iron door for as long as I want, but unless I can actually put enough force behind it, I'm never going to dent the iron door, regardless how many times I punch it.
Yeah, and I don't think I brought any tools with me for actual heavy duty construction. Or
Don't you wish?
demolitions.
I was going to say, don't you wish you brought some gelignite?
Yeah, I should have brought a sledgehammer.
You do, however, see that there is a manhole cover that is in the middle of the road, so it is just from the sewer's perspective, it is down a small bit and to the left-hand side.
Yeah, I do wonder if I could travel to that manhole cover, go down, and then would I be? I wonder if I could use my tether as a means to guide myself.
Maybe.
I'll check. I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can guide myself back to where my body is, where the manhole cover is, because obviously, what is it? Obviously, it's going to be much more maze-like under the ground, so I do need to be careful. And that is something I might do that. That is not me. That is somebody else. So yeah, can I guide myself back to my body from where this other manhole cover is?
Why are you so militantly against owing a minor boon?
Because this guy's being stingy. He's being a stingy fucker.
Bear in mind, though, if you go to the other manhole cover, you will be in full view of the house as you approach.
Yeah.
You can do
it. I might owe a true. He's making me owe a minor for breaking open a manhole cover. Fucking dick.
Abdul, everybody.
Fucking cheapskate. Alright.
You had to basically thumb his nose in it.
Pardon?
He started with a trivial, and then you had to thumb his nose in it.
I didn't. I didn't want to. Oh, boom.
It's almost like your pride got the better of you.
It did. Let me have it. Let me have my pride.
Maybe.
All right, Francis will just go back to his body and he just gets up and he says, "Okay, fine."
Ah, wonderful. So that is 2 minor boons.
There's one minor boon.
1 minor, 1 trivial.
Deal.
Abdul will
This
climb
is
up.
massively overpriced. I fucking hate this guy. Fucking cheapskate.
No, I mean, you were the cheapskate first when you asked for a trivial and you were like, no.
It was supposed to help me get in. We're not even above ground yet.
Abdul will climb up. He will put 1 hand on it. He will spend the blood for his 4 potents and...
Fuck that guy. All right. Francis will go, "Thank you."
You're welcome, sir.
It's very nod of acknowledgement. Like, yeah, I'm being nice. Yeah, I'm polite now.
I will request payment of minor boon now.
Oh.
Abdul would like to be hound. Mr. Hennessy said Abdul could be, but he said that it would be best if he asked you.
Sounds reasonable.
In that case, Abdul will go up first. Look. Kind of cocks his head to the side. And you see him sniff, like taking very deep inhalations of the air. Which is odd, because all you can smell is shit. I don't like.
This smells horrible. Francis is not trying to sniff anything ever.
So you will both emerge up onto the words onto the asphalt of the driveway, in which for the record, when he knocked it open, he did it with such force, it didn't actually create much of a noise. It just tore, if that makes sense. It didn't actually create much of a kind of a ripping or a smashing noise. But you'll both stand up, and he will close the manhole cover, though leaving a piece of fabric so it can be easily yanked up again.
Mm-hmm.
The house, for the record, looks black and deserted. You don't think that there's anyone there. If you'd like to give me a perception alertness check, you can. It's going to be difficulty 8 modifier specs.
Okay. Power of all specs. Gives me 2 successes.
Yeah, this house, there's no there's no light, there's no residue of heat. No one's been here for quite a while. At least this evening, maybe longer.
Okay. Do I see any security? Security cameras, anything like that?
No, nothing of that nature, no.
Okay, well, just for safety's sake, Francis, I assume Abdul will not be approaching the house.
He'll go if you want him to go. Otherwise, he'll stay by the manhole.
Yeah, Francis will just ask him to, stay by the manhole because mainly, that was what the agreement was. He wasn't expected to put himself at risk. He's hound now, but it's we can work through stuff he can do later. This is kind of, it'd be a bit soon to start involving him right now. Kind of a bit on the nose, but there you go. So you'll just tell him to stay.
The one security feature you will notice, by the way, this house is what you would call a mini mansion. So you'd assume maybe the kind of the 5-6 bedrooms. It's detached. It's on about maybe an acre of land. The one security feature that will immediately become noticeable to you is the very large electronic cast iron gates, whereby you press a button and they basically they open and close.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, in which case Francis will begin approaching, masked, at an angle, hopefully out of sight.
Mm-hmm.
Does he need to climb any fences or anything to get in?
No, you basically the concealed manhole cover comes up inside the fenced surround, so it's rather easy if you just pop in.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. In which case, Francis will begin approaching the miniature mansion. Then, just keeping an eye out, using heightened senses, but certainly not a smell. That's gonna linger for a bit.
Cool. Yeah, you get to the door, no problem at all.
Okay. And Francis will keep his heightened sight on, but he won't have heightened sound while he will attempt to open the door, because if an alarm goes off, he will be overstimulated. So he'll basically go around to the back, if it's at all possible.
The back door is unlocked.
Okay. Francis will carefully pull the handle and pull. He kind of will move with the door. So
You enter into a small, kind of how to describe it, a utility room. So there is a washer dryer combo. There is a washer dryer combo. The ground itself is covered in lino. And there's a door that leads off into what you assume is the kitchen.
Okay. Turn back heightened hearing on. I will just sweep the room real quick. I'm not going to try and move too much. But, yeah. Basically, just sweep the room for anything unusual. Anything that could be... Sorry, what was in here again? What major items were in here?
Just a washer dryer, and then there is the entrance to the kitchen.
Okay. Any clothes in the washer or nah?
No.
Okay. So fairly empty room then. I will open the door to the kitchen. Again, just
Okay.
being very careful, methodical about all this. Checking for security every time, just in case. And yeah, enter. If everything's fine, I'll just enter the kitchen.
Okay. Make me a perception alertness check as you enter the kitchen.
Okay.
This is going to be difficulty 8 minus your aspects.
Okay. It's taking a little bit here. Has briefly stopped. Psychic is still there. I will re-roll. Oh no, it's what now? I have 4 successes.
On the ground, you see scuff marks indicating that furniture was moved here in an immense hurry. You're not exactly sure what itself was moved, but then again, some very large and heavy things have scraped up the wooden floor ever so slightly. Other than that, the room is entirely barren. There is the kitchen worktop and the presses are still there, but there's no furniture whatsoever. No cutlery, no plates, no dishware. It is as if the room itself was just left as a shell. Through the opposite doorway, you can see what you'd assume would be the living room, which adjoins the kitchen. That is also entirely bereft of furnishings. Then there were 2 doors, one of which you assume leads out into a hallway that may connect to the stairs, and then maybe then another pair of double doors, which maybe leads into a dining room.
Okay. I'm gonna try and spirits touch the scuff marks.
Okay.
What's the difficulty?
What is the difficulty for spirits touch?
It's entirely dependent on the ST.
Basically,
it's usually the more recent or the stronger the emotional resonance alerted diff. But if it's if it's been a long time, then it would be high diff.
Because there's no real emotional attachment here. It's just a physical thing.
Physical movement. I get 2 successes.
What does this indicate?
It indicates I get 2 basic pieces of information.
This was made by moving furniture out in the last 12 hours, and also the workers who did so were quite frantic in their movements. They were actively afraid.
Okay. Scuff marks don't lead in any particular direction, do they?
They lead out to the back door. You'd assume that they were hauling the furniture out to the door.
Okay. Hmm. Okay. I will just check the space. For the sake of not repeating myself, Francis will check each room meticulously, so that way I don't need to go over it every single time. But yeah.
In the dining room,
We'll go to the dining room next. Yeah.
in the dining room, there is no furniture save a single wooden coffee table on which there sits an open laptop that is on charge, facing the door you came in from.
Well, that is fucking sketchy. That almost sounds like a bomb.
Good evening, Mr. Belmont. The voice you can't determine the gender of due to the masking effect. However, you can see a speech pattern software like Skype is open on the laptop, and it speaks as soon as you enter.
Francis will respond, well, you left in a hurry. He heightened his specs as he doesn't see any technology on display. So he just tries to see if he can detect any astral projections or uses heightened sense to see if he can discover any bugs.
Okay. There was nothing akin to that here in the room. There's no astral projections. There's literally just the computer. And
he's using the laptop camera.
yeah, he's using the laptop. Yeah.
Why did I forget that?
Because you're an old vampire and you forget technology's amazing.
In narrative reasons for being a dumbass. Yes, that's what Francis says. Well, you left in a hurry.
Yes. Well, I must admit that you have been dogged in your pursuit, but then again, I suppose that is the way of things. I am, however, pleased that you kept your mongrel dog outside.
Ooh. I'm aura perception in Abdul's direction, see if I can still see his aura.
It's gone.
That's bad.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Telepathy on him? Telepathy on him?
There's nothing there.
Oh, I can't reach him through telepathy?
Nope.
And why might that be?
Well, quite simply, because I get to have a private conversation with you. Depending upon the nature of this conversation will depend upon how we move forward. You understand, of course.
I am. You could say this isn't my first rodeo, no.
No. Most correct. So, you are actively searching for the individual who assaulted Archon Giselra, or Archon Giselra, my apologies, her name is Giselra. Archon Giselra. I'm correct in my assumptions, yes.
I may be doing a search, yes.
Do not play coy with me, Mr. Beaumont, if you wish to leave this room alive. You have already seen the fact that I have neutralized your friend. This is merely me giving you an adequate warning. Do we understand each other?
What is the specific point you're attempting to make here?
The specific point I am attempting to make here is that you have almost
inadvertently created issues for me and my operations by your blundering around the city and asking questions. Questions to individuals such as Mr. Heaviside and others that should not and cannot at this point be answered. And now you have gone and placed an issue in my path with the informing of the mongrel Nosferatu seneschal as to your assumptions as to my motivations. You've noticed that he's insulted the Nosferatu twice. Both times
Hmm.
calling them mongrels. So, you are going to cease and desist in your little paltry investigation. And in exchange, I am going to make you an offer. I hate to use the term bribe, but it is apt.
Uh, Francis makes his arms across. One of them kind of gestures slightly upwards, and he wheels his wrist slightly as he says, "And your offer is."
The names, information, and contact details of the various individuals whom are currently Anarch sympathizers within your ivory tower, including at least one name I guarantee will be of interest to you.
Francis thinks on this for a second. So I am to trade one crime for the possibility of more. He doesn't seem entirely convinced by the offer.
Just because you are convinced that an individual has committed a crime, or rather is innocent of a crime, I assure you that in our long lifespans, Mr. Beaumont, the entity in question, whom nearly died in the assassination attempt, was not an innocent. More lives and blood were on their hands than many individuals that you will ever meet. So you should redefine your concept of guilt and innocence.
An Archon was almost assassinated.
Yes. The point being, do you honestly think that you're just a car? If they had needed a new cat's paw, would not have simply acquired one. Ultimately, an Archon's assassination is a statement. They are not as valued as you might think. They are merely expressions of powerful will, unless they themselves are also powerful. In this situation, she could have easily been replaced. She was nothing. This was not an attack based upon the concept of political ideologies or machinations. This was personal. So, what do you render? You render the concept of justice for a murderer who has no real benefit or gain to your sect, or you root out several high-ranking traitors before it is that they can spread poison through your city. And I assure you, Mr. Beaumont, the poison is coming, and it will be a lethal dose when it is administered. You saw a taste of what the Baron was capable of when he denied access to your kind to their financial resources. This was only a taste. And what if I was to tell you that it was not the Baron Phobos, the masked individual, who was pulling the strings? Would that information be of use to you?
That causes Francis to stop for a moment, as that is very that is more valuable information than what was last on offer. I can't say that necessarily surprises me. There has never been an anarch movement in history that has not been manipulated by some elder or another.
I would postulate a different question. What would happen if one of the more ideified and strong vestige pillars of the Camarilla were to themselves fall to the anarch concept of freedom and liberty?
That's a very big if. But if the possibility were to come to pass, well, I don't believe the Camarilla of this particular court would take very kindly to that.
Think about it like this. A neonatorian war. They have perhaps accrued some semblance of influences in their short existence. However, in order to paralyze the financial reserves of an entire nation, that seems rather punching above their weight class. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Not impossible, but unlikely.
So, do we have a deal, Mr. Greenwald?
Francis very carefully considers how well he's going to have to lie in this statement. Francis takes a moment as the player weighs up the possibilities of he's been promised a lot, unfortunately by an unknown figure who could just be lying to him and has, quote, neutralized the Nosferatu and has seeming complete disdain for them.
I'm just going to sit here stroking my, Niktuku page lovingly. I mean, what? No. It's not the Niktuku. What are fucking with you?
No, that would be one reason how Francis can't see them. While he's doing this, he will check for obfuscate if it's necessary to do. He already has heightened senses up, so I think I'm always technically checking for it. I don't really know how that plays.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I make a ruling with Auspex and obfuscate. In order for you to pierce something's obfuscate, they have to be physically in they have to be within your line of physical sense.
Yeah, they have to be within my line of sight.
So, for example, something could have taken out the Nosferatu and re-obfuscated itself while you weren't paying attention, basically. So, but no, there's currently nothing in the room or out through the windows that you can see that requires the rolling of obfuscate.
The immediate thing that troubles Francis is this guy claims to have a ridiculous amount of information and apparently had eyes on this place before we even entered, and used it to take out Abdul, which leaves me without my fucking guide now.
You could ask who they are.
I could. I'll just do that, actually. And who is it I'm making a deal with? I have a fairly... I have a fairly specific criteria as to who I deal with. After all, I'd hardly want to be caught dealing with a member of the Sabbat, after all. And I need to know that who I'm dealing with is reliable and can be trusted. After all, I can only assume that who I'm talking to now is the one who orchestrated the assassination of an Archon. Which...
You're quite correct. However, I did not orchestrate the assassination of an Archon. I merely dealt with the possibility of a traitor.
Possibility of a traitor.
Correct.
Can I make a Camarilla law check to see if I have any idea what he's talking about in relation to this Archon? Is she known to have any dirty dealings? Did she come from an Anarch or Sabbat life?
No, that's public knowledge. No, she didn't. I apologize. This is the best picture I could find. The camera on the other side of the picture will, however, flick on.
It was Abdul the whole time? Ah,
Apparently.
shit.
I take the time.
Well, well, Francis is like, well, I don't have any concerns about the reliability of this motherfucker.
I take it that I am suitable to do business with, Mr. Beaumont. As Francis breaks on the inside.
He's literally dealing with a fucking interscene war between two fucking Justicars. What the fuck is he dealing with? So Francis, Francis,
I need to go get a drink. So contemplate your next moves very carefully.
Oh, yes. Welcome everybody to the one. Welcome to the scene where Francis dies on the inside. His heart breaks so hard he just falls to ash because the actual fuck. Real talk, though, it's an immense honor to be in the presence of two Justicars. I can say I have met two Justicars now. That is my face. Oh my god. Why? Why? Welp. Oh, fuck, guys. GG, it's nice being a sheriff while it lasted. And just like to say thank you to Evan for running a fantastic game.
Why did I come back during your goodbye speech? What?
Right, well, I'm gonna change my overall quick because this is not really an appropriate overlay for Francis right now. So yeah.
How I killed your spirit?
There we go.
You are the fun. You are.
Yeah. Well, this for Francis, this more or less changes the context of everything because I mean, well, you know, he was reporting to a Justicar before. Now he's apparently reporting to another one, and Francis will.
Understand? I didn't realize she was also a Red Alistair, but by God, she is.
Oh yeah, in the context of Dublin, she's even more important.
You see her, for the record, she's sitting in a high-backed black chair. And she's... By the way, you've seen that black chair before, ironically.
Yeah.
But you've seen it from a different angle.
Well, Francis will just say...
Contemplated, it all makes sense. The huge bank account and the payments being sent to South America and Mexico.
Yep.
The Cameron is always funding movements against the Sabbat in South America and Mexico.
Yep.
And it would make sense Justicars would oversee that level of funding. So all of this realization smashes Francis in the side of the head like a brick.
Yep. It wasn't actually the Sabbat, it was Camarilla funding Sabbat incursions against the Sabbat. No, Francis will just say when he sees her face, looking obviously a little bit caught off guard because he wasn't expecting to see another Justicar. And Francis can now claim to have met two Justicars all within the same year.
Very calmly, she looks up at you with a very cold... Oh, sorry, you continue, bro.
I was going to say, well, now I feel the need to apologize for looking so unpresentable.
She looks at you with very cold, distant, inhuman eyes, and she says, "Ah, I see. That's quite all right. Oh, my apologies. You have knees, Mr. Beaumont. I recommend using them."
He'll take the knee.
Good. If it helps, if you hadn't been valuable up until this point, I would have had you eliminated long ago. However, fortunately, your bumbling around has proven to be interesting in dislodging exactly what I needed to be dislodged.
Glad to hear I've been of service, although there is one loose end. I'm going to need to bring something back to my own Justicar, as she also has a vested interest in seeing this matter resolved.
Yes, quite. I understand this perception of yours, and I have no doubt that the story you tell will be most entertaining and completely lacking in substance.
Yeah, Francis did half expect her to say that.
As I've said, I have been looking through certain abuses of power via certain sympathizers in the highest echelons of the Camarilla for over a decade now. And unfortunately, you kiboshed my attempt in order to remove one of the pieces from the board. Mind you, you were acting out of ignorance. I can forgive ignorance, can't I, Mr. Beaumont? Your sire was a most agreeable friend of mine. I will allow that to temper my decisions.
Perhaps I could be easier to forgive if I rectify the situation for you.
Ah, so you're going to assassinate an Archon. The very thing you admonished me for.
Francis, for the barest moment, he very carefully analyzes whether he should defend his actions in front of a Justicar, or whether if that will just cause her to kill him later on.
That is entirely on you, bro.
As it was said, I was acting out of ignorance.
Yes.
Do I know where the Archon is right now? Has she awoken?
She's currently somewhere under Hennessy's protection, but you're not sure where.
Shit.
So, now then, there's an almost smile, and it's really painful to see something that doesn't smile. Oh God, stop. You're going to deal with this for me. Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Beaumont. I will make special notation of your loyalty to the Ivory Tower. Oh, and if you can solicit a confession, that would also be most excellent.
I'll...
And with that, for the record, the computer screen will go dead.
Fuck.
She doesn't give you the chance to answer.
No! And now, right. Okay.
Now you can roll your opposed auspex, by the way, because something did just walk into the room.
Okay.
I believe it's just you roll your thing and you pierce if you get a certain success.
1 second, I'll just check for V20. Where is sensing and seeing? It might be next to chemistry, not auspex, because it's... Oh, no. Oh god, what is... oh no, it's at the end of all specs. I think it depends on the power.
It's just to see through auspex. It's just to see through obfuscate.
Perception plus awareness difficulty equals 7 minus the number of dots by which my auspex exceed their obfuscate.
You have auspex, so you have auspex 5.
Yeah.
They have obfuscate 5, so it equals out. So roll difficulty 6.
Okay. They get to roll manipulation subterfuge against me. Difficulty for both rolls is 7.
Let's see where this one goes.
Yeah. I kind of want you to roll first.
I can roll first. Give me just a second.
I'm just interested to see what sort of monster I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it's not the most monstrous of monsters.
I didn't even get to ask.
No, you didn't. Rather pointedly so. You said, I'm going to do a thing, and then they were like, okay, you do the thing. 4
Oh,
successes.
that's a bad one.
You can spend a willpower if you like.
Yeah, sure not. Nope.
All right, then. The first thing you become aware of is the sound of a thump behind you. Like a really loud, meaty thump.
Oh, I look behind me.
You will see this woman as she drops Abdul's staked body onto the ground behind you. It would appear as though I don't have to kill you, Mr. Beaumont. I'm grateful for this.
That's very good. That would have been awkward. Primarily for me.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
Though I wish it were under better circumstances.
Yes, and I would shake your hand, but unfortunately I've been in some places that are less than healthy, so I'd rather not get the muck all over your lovely hands.
I thank you, Nshati. Do you speak Arabic?
Haha, no.
Cool. Nshati means something, but if you don't know what it means, you don't know what it means.
I can Google Translate later.
If you do, it means the light of the southern sky. I was merely informed that I may have to. I may have. If this, I was merely informed that if this conversation went away that my employer did not enjoy, you and I would not be having such a pleasant discourse. However, I'm led to understand the conversation went exactly as she had hoped it would, and thus we are not going to have that unpleasant discourse.
Yes, that is pleasant. I've got my work cut out for me.
Indeed. I would ask a minor favor of you, if you would please mind not unstaking your friend here until such point as I have left.
Yes, this is going to be a very complicated conversation I'm going to have later.
Oh, I do not envy your burden, Inshati. I merely end people's existences for a living.
That
I
sounds
try not.
very simple.
I try not to dabble in politics.
An
Though, if
interesting statement considering the situation, but fair.
there's a shrug, I merely work for the highest bidder. Oh, if you should ever require my services. She flicks out a business card and throws it at you.
He has a look at it.
It is the business card for what looks to be a rather upper class Middle Eastern restaurant in Dublin city centre. On a side note, you'll also know that it is Asamite clan domain. They've got pretty much that one restaurant on the street it's on, and that's all they have.
Mm. Interesting. Well, if I have need of your services, I'll certainly pay you a visit.
My name is Marama, Marama of the Lotus. It is very nice to meet you.
Likewise, Francis Beaumont,
That is
Sheriff.
that is the name you go by. Yes. My
He,
mistress has told me. My employer has told me much about you. After all, if I was to end you, I'd like to know those whom I must end.
yes. That is actually somewhat frustrating, to be honest. Oh well.
Why is that?
They're names I prefer to keep to myself.
If it helps, you caused my employer to actually have to exert some of her influence. It was not an easy matter to simply procure a name.
I suppose I can consider that my one condolence in this entire situation.
Indeed. She
Indeed.
turns on her heel and she says, as she leaves, if it helps, I am led to understand that in the event that you are successful in your task, you are to receive the same payment as I was to receive for killing you.
Interesting. And what might that be?
A single major boon from her ladyship.
Interesting.
As Francis salivates everywhere.
So much power!
Would you go so far as to say unlimited power?
I mean, if she can teach me half of the 11 bolt. And she actually has blood magic. So yeah, Francis.
She does have thumb, actually.
Yeah. Francis will just go, well, it was a pleasure meeting you. A shame. And it's like a slightly, his accent comes through a little bit. As you say, a shame it couldn't be under better circumstances, but I suppose we shall see how things pan out. And, well, I suppose I shall pull my new hound aside and explain the situation.
As you wish, Enchati. Many blessings of the evening be upon you.
I'll certainly need them.
I should think so. Not only are you now attempting to engage with the very old and powerful kindred of your own clan, who still has much status and influence, and the ear of your own Justicar, but you will have to strike at them through the safe house of the city's seneschal. If it helps, I had contemplated how I would do it. The answer was explosive. Good evening.
Evening.
She will just stride out of the room.
I should have asked her what a safe house was.
You really should have.
Well, she's still there, isn't she?
You could assume what you like.
You wouldn't happen to know what that safe house is, would you?
She turns. A single vial of your blood, and I'll answer that question.
It's even worse. It's even worse than the fucking Tremere. Jesus.
Bear in mind, in this causality of the game, the Assamites broke the blood curse. So yeah.
Are they under the blood curse or are they not?
No, they broke it.
Okay, that makes this a lot more difficult, actually, then.
Yeah, Urshulgi broke the curse.
Yeah, because then they can just store it and use it for whatever they want.
Yep. But then again, that's not necessarily something Francis would know.
No. Still, Francis has been taught to never ever give his blood to the Tremere, so he doesn't have much reason to give it to the Assamites either. Given that this is kind of this is the equivalent of this is major to blood boon-ish in service. So Francis will he his hand literally just runs down the side of his face because it has just been a stressful last night. He doesn't have many other leads. You could just ask the Seneschal, but then that's a lead back to him. Let me look at what Francis has. Because he would really like to offer just about anything else.
Bear in mind, the question is, what do the Assamites value?
That is a good question. What do they value? They value blood. But Francis has no idea what this person actually wants other than his blood. And he doesn't have much kindred law, so he doesn't actually know much about the Assamites. So, I could offer you something else, but I would not be willing to part with my vitae. I'm sure you can understand that's an extremely sensitive topic, particularly one who spends so much time around the Tremere.
For you, that is a sensitive topic, Mr. Beaumont. However, my clan have been collecting it as payment for our services for time immemorial.
What would be done with it if it were to be handed over? I must admit, I have never been confronted with this possibility before, so I do not actually know.
I'm trying to contemplate if from Marduk's throat is something that they would keep really secret, or if they'd give a fuck. Huh.
I would be willing to part with it if I could be assured that it would not be used against me. As that is my main concern. This is a direct tether to my existence, and I have seen some of the effects that can be placed on a kindred whose vitae is in the possession of someone who wishes to be rid of them. And while I know we are not enemies now, you could have killed me just a few minutes ago.
Yes, I could have. In fairness, I wager my chances in killing you now. However, there is no need for that violence, and also, you have a chance of victory. Actually, you have a relatively decent chance of victory, and I am loath to fight in combats wherein there is the chance of my own defeat, you understand. But I digress. You have my word it will be not used against you. It will be used as payment for services rendered, as my clan have done, as I said, for time immemorial.
Would I be able to make a wits politics roll to see just how overpriced this is?
Okay.
This does seem, I don't know, a little bit overpriced. A little bit. Because usually vials of blood are used for assassinations, not for just telling me where shit is. So I'm gonna make the check.
Yep.
Also, yeah, in a Camarilla sense, I guess it'd be equating it to how much boons would this be? How severe would this be in terms of boons? It's kind of like how he's kind of trying to equate it to, like how severe is this, and is it worth this piece of information? He's trying to quantify it basically. And when I get 2 successes to quantify just how bad this is for me, Evan, stop killing Francis.
Okay, from your perspective, you mull it over in your head. Yeah, the Assamites have been paid in blood for centuries, but essentially what you're asking her to give you is the tools for you to perform an assassination. So from her mind, maybe she's equating her giving you the ability to kill someone as being the same as her killing someone. She's essentially giving you the where to plunge your knife. Also, it's directly fucking with Hennessy, and that is a very large price tag in and of itself.
That is. Yes. Yes. I really hope Hennessy is not there when I do this. In which case, Francis will.
I don't think he lives in all of he said he would take you to a safe. You don't assume he lives in his safe houses.
No, but I don't know how quickly he can get there. Anyway.
That's true, you don't. So, do we have an accord, Mr. Beaumont?
Do you have a vial with you? I regret to say I did not prepare one for this interaction.
She will very calmly reach into the fold of her robe and she will withdraw a hypodermic needle. We always come prepared. She will walk up and Francis, she sticks it right in your neck.
Oh.
She draws out much.
I'm a trypanophobe.
I beg your pardon?
He says at least I'm not a trypanophobe.
She draws much less than a single point of blood, just enough to fill the needle, before she will wipe it clean with the handkerchief, and she will replace it. She will put it in a small case that she'll remove, and then she'll put it back in her robe, and she'll say, "It's located just off St. George's Court. It's a large brain." Four-story estate or a large four-story townhouse there. She's been kept there since the accident. I don't know if she's regained consciousness from Topo or not. There's always at least two guards and one of Hennessy's Nosferatu somewhere around. I saw them from time to time when I was bothered to look.
I see. Thank you for the information. I'll definitely take it into account.
I would, if I were you.
I suppose
At some point...
He'll just say, I suppose this is quite interesting for you.
At some point, if you're interested, my masters or my superiors, or no, he'll say superior. My superior, the Obsidian Lantern, would be delighted to meet you, perhaps to tell your fortune.
I'd be delighted. Francis, at this point, resigning himself to the fact that he is punching way above his fucking weight, and at this point, there's no point in stopping.
In that case, Master Beaumont, I shall bid you good evening again.
Good evening.
And on that mildly terrifying note, we shall end our scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watcher, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.
Oh boy.